Hi guys, how are you doing? Welcome to another segment of Crime Time with me, Stephen Gillen, and The Big Shift. I hope you guys are all right out there, and I have to say a big thank you to all the subscribers and all of you guys who are going into stephengillen.com, signing up to the new subscription model and working with us to do all that great content and empower your life. Great to have you guys, and me and all the team are looking forward to all this wonderful work that we are certainly doing together. I hope you guys are all right out there, everyone else around the world, and today we're going to talk about prisons within prisons, special units, special security units, and we're going to talk about me and Charlie Bronson. We were certainly in a few units and prisons within prisons along my sentence, but today I'm gonna specifically concentrate on the Close Supervision Centre, they called it, which in Woodhill. Now, the Close Supervision Centre, the CSU in Woodhill, was built in the 90s at the cost of £15 million to house some of Britain's most dangerous and disruptive inmates. You're talking about guys like me who had done years in solitary, had tried to escape, had been involved in a lot of violent incidents, both with prisoners and staff, had been uncontrollable in a sense where the prison service was at a loss of what to actually do with us. So what they used to do is they used to move us on something that was called the ghost train. Especially Cat A's, we could only go to certain places. So they'd come, move you from block, segregation unit to segregation unit around the country. This was a strategy to lessen the burden on the prison service, to disorientate us, break us down and keep us moving, lighten the load for them guys. I mean, I was certainly on this. I think there was one point I was on this block to block to block every month, 6 weeks, 2 months, for about 2.5 years. To be honest, guys, it had its bad things and its good things. Of course, I wanted to settle, but I found it hard to settle. And for me, it gave me a variety. It broke the monotony and, the hell of it all. So I would go to different places. This helped me. But of course you'd go to one block and they'd be okay, and then you'd go to 4 blocks and they'd be really heavy there. They'd be waiting for you, and you'd be fighting with them, you'd be in and out of the strip cell. There'd be all kinds of mental, emotional torture and all this stuff, tit for tat. And this was the strategy. Now I realised back in the day the prison office, home office, the prison officers or, their elite, they had different certain strategies for Cat A's and certain disruptive prisoners. This was like a chess game, they even said to me one day. I remember one of their staff saying to me, "It's like a chess game, Steve. We're at a loss on what to do with you." So this was their thinking. And what happened to me was you'd be involved in so much violence with them. You'd be moved off the wings. There'd be so much stuff. You'd be fighting with officers. There'd be the gang culture and all that. They'd get to a kind of a quandary of what to do with you, and it'd go on and on and on. So in the end, when they realise that you're one of them guys that they can't actually break, and you're just getting madder and madder and madder, where you're so entrenched, as I was, then they come up with something that was Hull unit, which was a special unit, which was kind of built, and the concept was based on Barlinnie prison back in the day, where they would give you everything. It was first names with the officers there. It was a more humane thing. You had a lot more freedom. You was treated as a human being. You'd cook a bit of food. You can have visits on the wing and all this stuff. Now, I'd gone through that in Hull. And I was in Hull for a couple of years, and we were settling down and all that stuff. And then I went back into the main prison system, and there was more trouble, more fights, and I was having more problems. So they started swagging me again and put me down the block and moving me again and doing all this stuff, and that went on again. And then what they done is they built this new close supervision system in Woodhill. Now this was built different. It had 4 wings on their units that were all about 10 guys. They usually only have about 7 or 8 on there, and it was built on an incentive system, i.e. when you went there you'd be in the middle. If you caused trouble, you know, and you was assessed in 3 months blocks. You know, there was a lot of psychologists there. It was a very weird, strange place. I'm going to tell you about some of the stuff that went on there, guys. They used to play a lot of head games. You know, put sugar in the salt. So when you'd put it on your dinner and it'd be spoiled, they wanted to see how far you would go, how far they could play with your head and all that there. There was crazy stuff going on there. You was constantly monitored. And so you'd go in at the middle, standard. If you didn't behave, then they'd put you down to the bottom unit, where you was banged up all day, an hour a day, half an hour exercise, half an hour shower. You was always by yourself. Even the beds, they didn't have beds in there, guys. They had a concrete plinth that was on the bottom of the floor, and it was even on a slant. So you were so uncomfortable. You know, the mattresses were wafer thin. I mean, I can remember, I was there for a long time, that I used to go to sleep on one side of my body, on this arm. I used to get such a dead arm after a few hours, or in the night, I'd wake up and I'd have to transfer over to the other side. I mean, they'd really thought of everything in here. You was fed like a dog. Anytime you'd come out, there'd be 10 of them in full riot gear and shields, muffled up, all the time. You didn't go nowhere. Physics was closed. Everything was done like that. And if you behaved and you went up to the next unit, they'd give you a little bit more. You could even cook a little bit of food. You'd get out more, a bit more exercise, that kind of stuff. Needless to say, when they built this place, I can remember I was up in the cages in Wakefield with Charlie, which are the double doors in the control unit up there. We wasn't allowed on the wings, obviously. We was in the control unit, which was the cages. And that's really something to behold. I'll talk about that another time. But what they'd done is they had selected Charlie. I think he was the 6th one to be selected for the close supervision unit at Woodhill. A couple of months later, I was selected. I was number 7. So I went after Charlie. Now, you know, needless to say, what happened to most of the guys in there is they would go in and you'd go up, down, down, up, down, and this went on and on and on. Because you're dealing with a certain kind of prisoner in there, a certain kind of guy who's carrying a lot of trauma, who in a way was like a soldier of war, who had been through so much trauma and was so entrenched with years and years of violence behind them, many no futures, never getting out, many lifers, many never going to see, you know, the light of day again. They really had nothing to lose. So this was the kind of place. So I was there, you know, I was there for 2 years in the CSU, and I see many things in there. I see a friend in there, you know, a friend of mine, Lenny Tierney, Scouts lad, was to lose his life in there. You know, unfortunately, you know, we had a fight with another guy who was another friend of mine there from Manchester, and he lost his life. Now, I was there with a lot of guys of the time. You know, some of the Noonans was there. You know, John Murray was there. Matty Wainwright was there, Charlie Bronson was there, Reggie Wilson was there. There was so many guys, you know, a lot of these guys behind all that, it was really, really good guys, right? But we was really caught, you know, in this system. You know, needless to say, there was a lot of violence, a lot of fights, a lot of different stuff going on. It was so much more controlled in there. You know, as I said, a friend of mine there, he sadly lost his life, Lenny Tierney. But I was to be in that unit for 2 years, and this was coming to the end of my sentence. I was still a Category A. I remember it was getting so bad that they didn't want to release me, guys. They didn't. That's the truth, you know. They didn't want to release me. I had about a year left, but they kind of had to, because they wanted to to get me back into some kind of normality, because they knew they was going to have to release me, which they still did from Belmarsh as a Category A. I've done some other content there where you will see about what actually happened on that day when I was released and what transpired. But this place, you know, the place in Woodhill is still there today. It still works in the same way to contain some of the most dangerous prisoners in the UK penal system. And this is just an understanding of what it was like in one of certainly the most toughest prisons within a prison. That was actually modelled, now I remember, on Colorado in the States, to try and control the most dangerous prisoners in the UK penal system. I wish you guys a wonderful day, and I look forward to seeing you again for the next segment of Crime Time with me, Stephen Gillen.